That thing's flying upside down. That's impossible. That kind of vehicle can't fly upside down. It's not supposed to fly at all. They're not upside down. We are. Welcome to the Disney Scrapbook, where together we take a journey to explore Disney history from 50 years ago. My name is Nolan. Today I thought we'd take a second look at Disney's fantasy science fiction film, Escape to Witch Mountain, released March 21st, 1975. If you have not yet had an opportunity to watch part 1 of the Disney Scrapbooks series on this film, which investigates the plot and performers, I suggest you start there. Please follow the link below. In part 2, we take a detailed look at the director, filming locations, and special effects. British film and television director John Hough directed Escape to Witch Mountain. Hough had wanted to direct films from a young age. He would write his own stories and make them into films even at age 11. Upon leaving high school, he worked as a clerk at the stock exchange, because the film industry at that time was a closed shop and he couldn't get in. Consequently, daily he wrote 2 letters and sent them to various studios looking for work. Eventually, his persistence paid off, and he was interviewed at Merchant Park Studios, gaining a job as a trainee in the sound department. He would eventually work his way up in the film industry to become second unit director of the TV series The Saint, and subsequently The Avengers. In 1973, at Elstree Studios in London, he directed Legend of Hell House with producer Albert Fennell, who subsequently invited him in 1974 to direct Dirty Mary Crazy Larry in Hollywood at 20th Century Fox. The success of these films brought him to Disney's attention, a studio that was looking for a new direction. He was put under contract specifically to create a horror movie for them, which he did in 1980 with Water in the Woods. He was also hired for its facility with action and ability to direct children, a statement that was reinforced by both Kim Richards and Ike Eisenman, who remember Hough as being wonderful to work with. They enjoyed his ability to be both understanding and helpful to a child actor, with him making a point of not talking down to them. Hough's first work for Disney was to direct Escape to Witch Mountain. Upon the completion of this film, he worked pre-production on the incredibly successful The Black Hole. In Escape to Witch Mountain, Hough shot heroes with traditional camera angles, but with villains he tried to use unusual angles. He incorporated many wide, low-angle shots, and unusual shots that build tension like feet walking, tilted angles, and shooting reflections in a mirror. Head of photography Frank V. Phillips was excited by this challenge. Hough would visualize shots prior to the day's shooting. Hough, a director who favored both shooting and rehearsing on location, shot as much as possible of the film on location, only utilizing the studio for special effects scenes that weren't possible to recreate on location. Built in 1882, the 60-room Victorian Coleman Mansion supplies the establishing shot of the film, with Tony and Tia arriving in the vehicle to Pinewoods Children's Home at 39 Pinewoods Lane. This scene was shot at the Peninsula School, 920 Peninsula Way, Menlo Park, Palo Alto, California. The private Peninsula School has been providing a progressive education since 1925, and some of the students appeared as extras in the orphanage scenes. Mrs. Grinley takes the children from the orphanage on a trip to watch a film at the cinema. External shots of the 500-seat Fine Arts Cinema at 429 California Avenue, Palo Alto, California, are created, with the cinema's marquee advertising Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, which coincidentally was up for re-release in December 1975. the Byzantine castle-style mansion built by Temple Crocker between 1926 and 34, with lava rock from Mount Vesuvius and materials from all over Europe, was used for the fictional Xanthus, the home of Aristotle Bolt, that overlooks the beach at Pebble Beach, California. At the time of filming, the mansion was owned by the Academy Award-winning composer-conductor John Stoll and his actress wife Dallas. Curiously, the children Ike and Kim were told that the banging around that could be heard in the basement was a pet gorilla. Several scenes were shot at various locations along Highway 1 between LA and Carmel, California. Coordinating the speed of the helicopter with the three-car driving tandem in this chase scene was particularly difficult to achieve, so a portion of the highway was closed during filming. This highly entertaining science fiction film has some interesting special effects that take you into the world of your imagination. These illusions were created by Disney's talented special effects department. During various interviews, Ike Eisenman has retold how as a 12-year-old boy, he was especially excited to take part in some of the special effects. On his first day of shooting at Disney, he found himself in front of the common mansion wearing steel shorts lined with wool and suspended by wires from a crane concealed behind carefully placed bushes. That day, he also got to interact with a baseball bat and a catcher's mitt, suspended from a fishing pole with piano wires. Coincidentally, Dermot Downs got a little overexcited in that scene and punched the baseball bat a little too hard at Ike and gave him a black eye. In a climactic scene, a flying mobile home is pursued by an upside-down helicopter, all created with a combination of models in the studio against the green screen, animation, and live action. The helicopter was flown by a professional helicopter pilot. The Flying Winnebago was a 1-inch to 1-foot scale model of a 1974 Dodge Mini Winnie Winnebago Class C, suspended on wires from the studio ceiling against the green screen. The shot of the Winnebago landing is animation, which becomes live action as the camera picks up the van coming over the horizon. Interestingly, a flying RV was released a year later in 1976 by Winnebago Industries and Orlando Helicopter Airways, and was called the Winnebago Heli-camper. The spaceship was a 2-inch miniature of a flying saucer suspended on wires against the blue screen in the studio. Daniel Lee used optical effects to create a landing. Upon watching the film, you would never know that the set inside the spaceship was made of cardboard. John Mansbridge created the children's bedroom in the Disney studio. This allowed Bob Baker's marionettes that Tia interacts with to be controlled by puppeteers standing on scaffolding 10 feet above the floor, using duplicate control bars attached to the lower control bars by strings painted the same color as the set, and hidden out of frame above the ones that are visible in the scene. The puppeteers manipulated the puppets' movements with the guidance of reflections and strategically placed mirrors. The bee puppet wings were motorized. Interestingly, in the original VHS release, the scene was cut over musical copyright issues. In the original novel, Alexander Key describes an extremely comical scene with excellent imagery, in which Tony, using his psychic powers and harmonica, makes a coat stand and broom come to life and attack the sheriff. Disney recreated this visually using 2 piano wires to float the harmonica to Tony, motorizing a coat stand, controlling a sentient broom, and using strings on a coat inflated with an airbag that deflates at the end of the scene to haunt and terrify the sheriff. I found this scene hilarious in both the book and the film. Unfortunately, the bear in the car got a little hungry once and chewed the seatbelt. Not everything goes as planned, especially when filming children and animals. One time, Kevin and Ike were left suspended on wires from a crane when the horse they were supposed to be mounting decided to walk off. The majority of the stunts were performed by Ted Duncan, who John Hough had requested, having used him for some stunts in Dirty Mary Crazy Larry. He was the policeman on the motorcycle, and the driver of the car that went up the ramp and into the water. Here we take a break. Please join me in part 3, where we will research the film's score, merchandise, and critical reception. Thank you for listening. If you would like to watch Escape to Witch Mountain before we meet again in part 3, it is available on iTunes, YouTube, Amazon Prime, Google Play, Disney Plus, and of course DVD. If you enjoyed this type of 50th anniversary content, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. The Disney Scrapbook will be producing other 50th anniversary content throughout the year that will include reviews of Disney films, LPs, books, and free book content. Thanks everybody for watching. Please join me in part 3. TTFN, ta for now.